Go. So we were talking polarization the last time, and last one, very interesting. People tend to, of course, hang around people that already have opinions similar to theirs, and they tend to find them, and then they tend to be even more like them, even more extreme. Why would this happen? You know what? Let's move into groupthink. I want to get this chapter done today. I got to go and pick up my kids, all right? Groupthink. Mode of thinking that persons engage in when concurrent seeking becomes so dominant in a cohesive in-group that it tends to override blah, 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 blah. Well, a lot of people argue, it goes like this. Imagine you've got a room with 10 people in it. And one person says, do you know what would be a great idea? It'd be a great idea if, and then says something. Now let's pretend that all 9 people, other 9 people in the room think it's a bad idea. Okay? What's going to happen with groupthink? The person next to him says, boy, I think that's a bad idea, but I don't want to be the only one that looks, I mean, if somebody else says something, I'll raise my hand and tell them I think it's a bad plan, but there's no way I'm going to be the first one to say something. Meanwhile, the guy next to him is going, I don't think this is a good idea, but look, Bob over there and Fred over there, they're not saying anything, so apparently Bob and Fred think it's just a great idea. And all of a sudden, all 10 people in the room agree to a bad idea because there's this false belief that everybody believes it, right? Because nobody's saying anything. This groupthink is a really big problem. It's particularly troublesome in places where dominance hierarchies are particularly strong, like in Asia. If the boss says something in Asia, you say, yes, sir. You don't say, I think that's a bad idea, sir. You say, yes, sir. And so different companies in Japan have implemented a new policy where the lowest member of the hierarchy, that is the person with the least social status, makes their opinions, states their opinions first. Then the second lowest person on the hierarchy states their opinions. Therefore, as you move your way up the chain, nobody is offended about disagreeing with the person before them, okay? Because the people before them were lower on the hierarchy, on the status hierarchy, and so it's okay to disagree with them. And so they can avoid some of this groupthink, which is so prevalent in business. One of the major things that was a stumbling block to the early development of Japanese businesses. Which conditions can enhancing groupthink? Cohesive groups, isolation of the groups. Oh, you know what? I think you can read all of this, right? Oh, that's just way too much reading. Okay, but somebody might be interested in that, so go for it. Maybe that'll be your paper. Assign a devil's advocate. Have somebody always argue the opposite point. Somebody was telling me yesterday about how they had to take a debate class, and in the debate class, their job was they were debating the Salem witch trials, and they had to, one side had to argue that it was mental illness, and one side had to argue that it was actually witchcraft. And she said she got assigned to the witchcraft, and it felt really stupid because there was really no logical argument to support it. But that's the idea. In order to avoid groupthink, in this case, let's say, to make sure, because maybe the position that mental illness is correct and maybe it's not. But if everybody just sort of goes with it, that's groupthink. Nobody stops and analyzes it. But if you force somebody to take the complete counter opinion, yeah, in fact, they were witches, all right? And if you take that opinion and you put it in there, it forces you to see both sides of the coin and perhaps makes you think harder. Maybe you'll be even more secure in the original belief, okay? But that's what a devil's advocate is all about. Subdivide the group and reunite to air differences. Yeah, that's interesting. If you subdivide the group and have them pursue a path, because some of the greatest blunders in the world have been blamed on groupthink. Some of the major ones. Here was a Challenger disaster. I want to say this was 1986, where people thought that there was some problems with the ship, but they didn't say anything because they didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything, and so I'm not going to say anything. Well, he must agree. And then after the Challenger disaster, they found that there was like 47 different people on the team that all said, you know what, I didn't think it was right, but I couldn't verbalize exactly why things weren't right, so I didn't say anything, okay? And so 47 people knew it was going to blow up, and nobody said anything. Same kind of a thing happened with a lot of people argue anyway. The Bay of Pigs invasion, John F. Kennedy's failed attempt to keep the Russians out of Cuba. I know, ancient history. But there's some really major things there. All right, so how to influence? Well, as we had said at the beginning, you are influenced by the group. The presence of the group really influences you. But how about you? You can influence the group as well, right? And so how do you influence a group? You're very consistent, all right? If you have an opinion and it's different from other people in the room, you never sway. You boom, boom, boom. You exhibit confidence. You sit at the head of the table. If you sit at the head of the table, you are much more likely to sway the group. I mean, you talk strong even if you're, even if you don't know much. And so what happens is that if you have, remember, and in fact this goes back to Solomon Ash's study from the last chapter, or even the chapter before, I don't remember. And remember in Solomon Ash's study, it was like, first person gives a wrong answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, wrong answer, and our participant goes, oh, wrong answer. But remember, if just one person gave the correct answer beforehand, our participant is much, much, much more likely to give the correct answer themselves. It's the same idea. A persistent minority punctures the illusion of unanimity. Okay? It's not unanimous. Not everybody does agree. And then there's a bunch of stuff here on leadership. I don't know. I mean, leadership is an interesting thing. Leadership really is minority influence. It really is an individual that's influencing the group. And I've recently been put into a leadership position at my church, at the Sunday school. I've become the principal. All right, but it's a Korean church, and so technically my position is not principal because it's Korean. My principal is Busan. And I got to be careful. If I say it incorrectly, it means something else, and I don't remember what it means, but it's silly if I say it wrong. And so the Korean people laugh at me for it and everything. But anyway, I'm put into this leadership position, and how am I going to tackle it? Well, I don't know. I mean, I tackled it in, how did I do it? I looked at it this way. I said, my problems in this, in this group that I have, in this group by group, I mean my Sunday school teachers and my pastor there. The problems I have are not with this group. They're doing a great job. They're doing an awesome job. My problems are with the church elders and stuff and getting them, those tight-fisted old men, to give money to the Sunday school. And so I'm using this leadership role. I don't know what do I know? I'm encouraging my people. I'm telling them quite often, giving social rewards, that's great. I'm even when they're doing class, I can look in the door and kind of give them a good smile to let them know that you're doing a good job. And am I doing the best job as a leader? How the hell do I know? I'm a professor, okay? They just sort of, I got promoted into that position because it was one of those jobs of not it, and I didn't raise my hand fast enough, okay? But there's different types of leaders, and different leaders are useful for different situations, okay? Leadership is simply the process by which group members motivate and guide the group, okay? They guide the group. They motivate the group. Leadership, task leadership is leadership that organizes work, sets standards, focuses on goals. What is the goal of our group? And in certain situations, that's an important thing to focus on. Social leadership is leadership that builds on teamwork, mediates conflict, and offers support. I guess that's what I'm trying to do, right? Transformational leadership is leadership that is enabled by a leader's vision and inspiration. Okay, whatever, okay? I don't know. If you want to know about leadership stuff, go to a management class. They'll teach you in management all about this crap. Some famous transformational leaders, I don't know. By the way, this transformational leadership, leadership that enables a leader, enabled by a leader's vision and inspiration, and lovely. And we can talk about great people, and we can also talk about people like Adolf Hitler, okay? Adolf Hitler was a genius. We got to give him credit for what he was, okay? His vision was perhaps not the right vision. His inspiration was not correct, but yet he was a genius. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't even want to talk about these things, I don't think. I think you guys should read these things because it bores me to tears. You have this responsibility yourself. What is a manager versus a leader? That's important. I think there was at least one really good one in here. Oh, I like these. How is it, you know, what is it that differentiates a manager from a leader? I like that, you know. A manager allocates resources. A leader creates vision. All right? There's some good distinctions here. But anyway, you read it. I don't really have any desire to do this today. I don't have to take the quiz. You do. All right? So this is the end of the material for the, the second quiz, right? We're through the second unit. We'll come back on the next one and start in, I don't even know what the hell we're going to get into. But anyway, I will see you again in about a week. All right?